Hey guys, my name's Crystal Kenny, and I'm in love with creating. All things artistic and imagination involved. I'm an American girl who chased her creative dreams all the way to Paris, France, making a living using photography. This podcast takes you inside the stories of all the artsy folks I've met along the way and gives you that extra push to discover your creative gifts. The desire to create is deeply inside each and every one of us, and I give you the tools and inspiration to find a new way of living a more creative life. This is La Vie Creative, the podcast. Claudine Hemingway is a descendant of famed writer Ernest Hemingway. We bumped into each other at a party and decided to team up and dive deep into French history, but with a twist, by bringing a spotlight to those lesser-known creatives in France. This is History with a Hemingway. Welcome back to Paris History, Avec, Hemingway. I am back with Claudine, and we have a very spooky broadcast for you today. We are talking about the cemeteries of Paris. I don't know if you guys have ever visited the cemeteries here, but they're quite amazing. I know it sounds weird to visit a cemetery, but they're beautiful. And Claudine's going to tell us a little history about them.
They really are. And today, because today is November 1st, and it is, as we call it, All Saints' Day, or in French is Toussaint, it is, I thought this would be the perfect episode for today.
I think it is spectacular. And also one of my favorite cemeteries is only open today on All Saints' Day. They only open it once a year.
I know. Well, I just really hope that you're going to get some photos in there, because last year we tried to do that and it was closed.
Yeah, and I was like, what the heck? It's open once a year and they close it. But that was because we were still in lockdown and pandemic and blah, blah, blah.
But hopefully we definitely, hopefully get some photos inside, peek inside there.
Yeah, well, I got the connection with Giuseppe anyway. We can go in anytime now.
Oh, really?
Yeah. He can go. He's friends with the San Christian there.
Oh, very nice. Giuseppe, he's got everything. So today I thought we would talk about mostly just the three big ones. So there's quite a few different, if you really wanted to get into it, there's quite a few, because you could count the Pantheon as a cemetery. You could call, the catacombs, of course, but there's the three big ones. So there's Montparnasse, Montmartre, and of course, Père Lachaise, which is the biggest.
The most important.
But we'll start with Montparnasse. It was originally called the Cemetery of the South, and it was opened in 1824 and has 35,000 plots in it. 35,000? Yes. So when you go to these places, it is very easy to get lost. And usually the Père Lachaise does not have it. They have a big board that you could walk up and you could look at, but you can go sometimes at all of the different cemeteries. There's usually a flower shop very close to a cemetery, and especially at Père Lachaise, they will actually sell you for a couple euros a map.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, and it will actually have a good listing on there of different, really like the big people are looking for. But there's also a couple books out there that are great, and I have them all listed in the boutique at my website, claudinehemingway.com. But there's a couple books which are really great, and it's like I take this book with me every time I'm there, because if I go to the cemetery, it's just great because it has like the map and shows you the number and like which part of the quote unquote square, because nothing's really a square, of like where kind of it is, because some of these plots or sections are really big and it's almost impossible if you don't know what you're looking for.
Yeah, I get lost in there all the time, and I've been there several times.
Yeah, it's and I've got a great story from a couple weekends ago for Père Lachaise, but we'll wait. So we'll start with Montparnasse. It was opened in 1824. It's the second largest, behind, of course, the big guy, Père Lachaise. It has two parts. There is the older part, which is the Petit Cemetery, and then there's the larger part that's the Grand Cemetery. I went there a few times before I figured this out, because I kept looking for a specific person, and it would say it was in, section 22. And I was like, I am in section 22, but the way they have it laid out, it's not like, 1 through 20 is the old section and 20 through 80 is the new section. Oh no, it's like the numbers go back and forth, and some of the numbers are the same in both sections. And it just gets, I didn't even know there was another side to it.
It's very confusing.
It's very confusing. But the coolest thing about these cemeteries is, and they're all like this, is that it is like going into an outdoor museum. And you could find sculptures on these tombs that are done by some of the greatest artists. You could find sculptures that you would also find in the Louvre.
Mhm.
You copies of things, and it's really a cool thing to go check out. It's much different than a lot of American cemeteries, are just the rectangular stones, and it just has the names and stuff. I mean, there's definitely some cool ones out there, like Boston has some really great ones. But the cemeteries in Paris, of course, are, of course, even better.
Yeah, no, they really are like a museum, like you said. Like I always tell people, "Oh, go to the cemetery," and they think I'm so weird, but I'm like, really? They're so good.
Yeah, and especially this time of the year in the fall. I've always gone in September for some random reason, and I always go around the same date without even trying. I always go around like the 18th to the 20th.
Mm.
And it's just really cool to go in the fall because the light is so gorgeous, and especially if it's a beautiful day, and then you've got all the leaves are changing. So it's really cool to go check them out.
Yeah.
But you could also visit probably some of your favorite people. Montparnasse has, among the many people, there is Baudelaire there. There's Dreyfus of the Dreyfus Affair. And then there's, of course, Frederic Bartholdi. And Frederic Bartholdi is the gentleman that designed the Statue of Liberty.
I had no idea he was there.
He is there. He was born in Colmar, and it just out in the northeast of France. And he decided he went down to Egypt, and he was fascinated by these huge, grand statues. And, like you have the Sphinx and you have the pyramids, and, he would see these huge statues and they inspired him. And he wanted to create a large woman that was like a lighthouse for the Suez Canal. And he proposed this to them, and they said, yeah, nah, we don't want it. So he kept working on it. And then later down the road, he knew a few people, La Boule and a couple other people. And then they decided they wanted to propose this gift to the United States. And then, of course, that tall woman that's kind of like a lighthouse became the Statue of Liberty.
I had heard that it was originally for Egypt, and I thought they didn't want it because the base was too expensive to make, but they were just like, we don't want it.
Yeah, they were like, yeah, no thanks. So, but his grave has an angel on top of it, but you can find a Statue of Liberty there because there is the grave for César, and César is was an artist, but it is also basically the French equivalent of the Oscars are called the Césars, and they are because he's the one that designed the statuette that they get.
I did not know that.
So he was a sculptor that would basically create these pieces with kind of recycled and reclaimed items. And there is a large centaur, the man horse combination. And there's a large one in Paris. It's just right down the street from the Paulin Bakery. And on his upper torso, there's a very tiny Statue of Liberty. And so before he died, he did a smaller version of the same centaur to go on his tomb. And there's also an even tinier Statue of Liberty there.
No way.
So even though Bartholdi doesn't have one on his grave, there still is one in the cemetery.
That's good to know. I'm going to go find it.
Yeah, go check it out. So the other one of the coolest graves, and I'll have pictures of these on my website, is Charles Pigeon. And Charles Pigeon was a lamp seller. He invented a gas lamp that would not explode.
What?
Which is a handy thing to have,
Why were they exploding?
They were just because they would get too hot with the glass, and the glass would explode.
Oh, that makes perfect sense.
Causing fires. So it's, because he discovered a way to do this, he became rich and famous as one would, when you could stop buildings from burning down. And so he had an artist create a tomb for him. And it was long before his wife died, or he died. His wife died in 1909. He died in 1915. So this sculptor named Caveau created basically a life-size a bed and life-size figures of he and his wife. She's there laying in the bed. he's laying there kind of propped up a little with a piece of paper and a pen in his hand, like, probably jotting down some ideas for eternity.
Oh my God.
And then on top of it, there's an angel, and she's holding one of the gas lamps that he invented.
Oh, that's so cool.
But it's an amazing tomb. And most people, like, you would never, I mean, I really had to search to even find out who he was. Like, it wasn't easy to
Yeah.
find information about him, or even the first name of the artist that did it. Like, it's just kind of, because I mean, even though he created this amazing lamp, there's just not much of him
In
for us to
history.
find.
That's weird. I wonder why. You would think he'd be super famous.
Yeah, you would think so, but I mean, he's more known. I mean, like the tomb is amazing, and yeah, like I said, I'll have the pictures so you could check it out. And it's all like patinaed. It's all like the green color, but it's really cool, and it is in the old section, up against a wall, like in the farthest corner of the entire cemetery is where you would find him.
I'm going looking for him.
Yeah, and when I went there, like, I was there and there's, nobody there. And so it was broad daylight, but you do kind of sometimes get a little bit of a creepy feeling, like, you're all by yourself going in and out of these tiny little rows. There's a boogeyman could jump out of anything at any time.
Yeah, don't say that.
It just, you would be crazy for that not to run through your mind at least once when you're at one of these cemeteries.
Boogeyman.
Yeah. And so the other one that a lot of the whole reason a lot of people even come here is to go to the tomb of Mr. Serge Gainsbourg, the French singer, bad boy. He is buried there. His tomb is rather plain, just kind of the big stone. And then it has like a little kind of up on an easel, and it says their name. But people go there and they leave their metro tickets there, because he had a song called Le Bancoeur des Lilas. And in the song, it was about a ticket taker on the metro. And so now, there's a big concern because they're getting rid of the metro tickets. What are people going to leave there? I don't think they're going to leave their phone. So save those tickets. If you might still have some tickets from the past. So when you come to Paris, you could use an old one and leave it there for him.
That is too funny.
But he died in 1991 of a heart attack. He smoked 5 packs of cigarettes a day and drank a lot. But he died. He was quite controversial in his life. He did the song Je t'aime moi non plus, which was a very famous song that he first did with Brigitte Bardot when they dated. And then he did it again with Jane Birkin, because Brigitte Bardot her husband was not pleased with that song. And when the song came out, it was banned everywhere. The Pope even excommunicated the record executive, because in the song, if you haven't heard it, it sounds like people moaning during sex.
I think I wouldn't be very happy about that either.
So yeah, people were not thrilled about that. But it is, I love that. It's a great song. I mean, it's so very French. But he was quite the character. There's an interview that he did, and he was drunk at this interview, and it was in Paris, and a very young Whitney Houston, she was probably like, 22, 23 years old, and he was very drunk. And in the interview, he says something about how he would like to, have relations with her, we'll say.
Oh God.
And you could find it on YouTube, and I will try to remember to link it on the website, because it is the look on her face when he says it. It's just sort of priceless. But he was quite drunk at this interview, and it was just like, oh boy, like he didn't care. He one time lit €100 note or a franc note on camera, on fire, and he did a lot of crazy stuff. But he also, when he died, they left his daughter, Charlotte Gainsbourg, who was an actress. They left his home exactly how it was the day he left, and it is still like that now. And he died 30 years ago. And so supposedly, like, everything, cigarettes that were in the ashtrays, there was a photographer not that long ago that they let go in there to take photos, but it's the same photographer that Serge let him take photos of in like the, late 80s. And literally everything's still in place.
That's so strange.
Yeah, but they're opening it in March as a museum, and it was supposed to be in the fall this year. I just walked by it a couple days ago, and it's supposed to open in March, so I can't wait to go see it because it was the very first glass-fronted refrigerator because he thought it was a waste of time to have to open the door to see what was in it. So he had somebody make him a glass front refrigerator.
Was that the one and only
That was the very first one.
I've never seen one of those.
Yeah, well, now they have them, and now you have like basically a computer screen on your refrigerator, I guess, and it could order your groceries for you.
I need those. When's that coming to Paris?
Yeah, those are the frigo Americain.
Yeah, exactly.
So a couple other people that are there: Charles Baudelaire. Oh, and right next to Serge Gainsbourg, not very far, is the tomb of Jacques Chirac, the French president. And when I went 2 years ago to the cemetery, and I was just walking around, and then I was like, there was all this activity, and all these guys were cleaning and doing all this other stuff, and I didn't pay any attention to it. And the next day on the news, they were showing how the former president Jacques Chirac was buried, and he's now Serge Gainsbourg's neighbor because that's where his daughter was buried.
Oh, they're neighbors.
Yeah, I saw them etching and inscribing the stone, but I didn't go up and look at it. I didn't pay. I was just like, what is going on?
Not too surprised.
Yeah, the other sort of bad boy of art, we could say, is buried there is Charles Baudelaire. And Charles Baudelaire died August 31st, 1867 at 46 years old. We talked about his mistress in a past episode, and we'll link that up. He is known for writing the Fleur de Mal, and he has 2 tombs that are there. So the first one, he's in his family tomb, and everybody, his devoted followers, thought it wasn't fitting of him, so they pay to have another tomb created. It is a very tall. The back is very tall, and has a man kind of almost like Rodin's thinker, but instead of having his head down, he's resting his head on his 2 fists and looking ahead, but below him is a mummy.
Oh, what?
Yeah, there's a mummy there.
So
he has 2 graves that are there, and which is fitting because you could basically, you could play the Where's Baudelaire game, like Where's Waldo, going through Paris, because he lived in so many places because he'd only stay there for a few months and wear out his welcome, and then he'd have to go find somewhere else. So like Ile Saint Louis itself, he lived like 4 places.
Oh my gosh.
So it's fitting for him to have 2, but they should actually separate it. So one, like they should have one at every cemetery. Like he's in all 3, the big ones.
Would love that.
Yeah, just move them around. But the other big one, of course, and this one's closer to your neck of the woods, is the Montmartre Cemetery.
Best. Well, Père Lachaise is the best, but I just love Montmartre.
So this one was the Cemetery of the North, is what it was called. They were quite clever with their names back then. But this is a little bit smaller than, of course, Montparnasse. But it's right kind of under the busy street. Like they actually, the cemetery was there first, and then was it Rue Colincourt that goes above it?
Yeah, exactly.
It is, you could tell where they put that street in, and they had to move some of the tombs, but some of them are like, the ones, the tombs that look kind of almost like a little tiny, like house. Mm-hmm. Some of them are literally like the metal base of the road that's above it is like literally like just skirting the top of the stone.
Oh, yeah, it is super close. And like Dalida, I always feel bad for her because she's like back in the corner next to the road.
Yes. Yeah. So that's I think the biggest, the most famous person maybe that's there is, of course, Dalida, which, she was one of our very first episodes we ever did. I think maybe the second one. And she was the international star that was, originally from Egypt, and she died on May 2nd, 1987. She overdosed at the age of 54. She was an amazing artist that she's internationally known except for in the United States. And she went from, every genre of music. She even went through disco, which, was so short lived. But just go online and look up just like her costumes and stuff. It's the greatest thing you've ever seen. What did we used to? Oh, she was our French Cher.
And there, exactly.
French Cher. But she's buried there. There is a life-size sculpture of her by Alain Eslan, and he also is the one that did the bronze bust of her that is in Montmartre itself. So you could go by there and you rub her tatas, we'll say.
The poor woman.
For good luck. And so he designed both of those. The one that her tomb was really amazing because it's kind of her standing there and this kind of looks like a halo sunshine behind her head. It's very fitting for her. But you're right. It is kind of way back in the corner. And the first time I went there, I couldn't find her. Like I went to go find hers and I just kept walking around and could not find it.
There's always so many flowers on her grave.
Yeah, that's usually like some of the ones you could definitely you could sometimes just follow people, especially at Père Lachaise, because there's just certain people they're always going there to find. So you could kind of just find, follow the hordes of people. Another one that's at Montmartre is Juliette Racamier, who we talked about before. And very sad because she was this beautiful woman that was, the belle of the salons of the First Empire of Paris, and Napoleon was even infatuated with her until she turned down being the lady in waiting to Josephine. She ended up she exiled herself before he could do it. And, she was this beautiful woman that really kind of set a lot of trends in fashion and everything in Paris. And her tomb is just like very plain.
Yeah, it's true. It's not much to look at.
No. And that's, she's the one that's married to her, could be father husband.
Father husband.
Because she's the one that ended up marrying this man that might have been her father, because it was right at the start of the revolution. He wanted to make sure that she could inherit his money, so he married her. There's no evidence that if it was her father or not, but there is evidence that her mother had a relationship with him. She and her father husband, as we kept calling him in that episode, they never consummated their marriage, thankfully. So but we did have fun saying father husband all the
time. It was pretty creepy.
Yeah. Another person there you could find is of course the artist Degas. And it's really neat to find. It's, again, it's kind of one of the ones that looks just kind of like a little house. And it says Famille Degas, and it's spelled DE space GAS. So that's the original spelling of their name. When he ended up putting it together, so it was Degas. But it is interesting when you see that, and there is a medallion on the front, and it was done by Jean-Paul Belmondo Sr., who was the father of the actor that just passed away a month or so ago.
Oh yeah, that was recent.
Yeah. Another person there that's kind of fun to find is Jacques Offenbach. He is the one that kind of created the Can-Can. He was the one who also had the Les Bouffes Parisiens theater, and he was involved with our favorite courtesan, Valtesse de Labin. There is a bust of him on the tomb by Jules Franconchi. And so that's kind of a fun one to see. His wife is buried with him. His wife that, followed him down to Italy on vacation when he took Valtesse and caused quite the scene in a Italian hotel. So there he is with her for eternity, and I'm sure she's still giving him the business.
I like that. Giving the business.
Yeah. But there's Emile Zola there's a tomb for him there. It is a very fancy Art Nouveau. With I'll post the picture of it so you can see his hair. It is probably the fanciest hair you've seen in the cemetery, but he ended up being moved. He died in 1902. He ended up being moved later that same year to the Pantheon.
Why'd they move him?
His family is left behind there at Montmartre, and it says Emile Zola on the grave, but he is now at the Pantheon, of course, the place for the greats of Paris.
He's a big deal.
Yeah, and later, in November, they are moving Josephine Baker there.
Yeah, that was huge news. That was all over everything.
It was, and I was really bummed out that I was going to miss it. But that's going to be really cool, and you should definitely check out our past episode about her before that, so you can learn exactly why she's going in there, because she was such an amazing woman during the resistance.
We love her.
We love her. She's a very sad but very amazing, resilient life that she had. And then, of course, the last one is the big guy, the Père Lachaise. It was named after, and Père, of course, means father. So it was named after Père Francois Lachaise. He was a confessor to Louis XIV. He was a priest. Could you imagine being the guy that has to listen to the confessions of Louis XIV?
Yeesh.
Yeah. I wonder how honest he got. Did he confess every, carnal episode he had?
I doubt it.
Yeah, but he lived there in about 1682 to 1709 when he died. And on May 21st, 1804, they decided to open up the Cemetery of the East, and they ended up calling it Père Lachaise. On the very first grave they put in there was on June 4th, 1804, and it was a 5-year-old girl named Adelaide Paillard de Villeneuve. And so she is the very first grave, and it is, I have tried to find it, and it's almost impossible to find it because she's not really on any map, because, they don't map every single grave in the cemetery. They just map kind of the most notable.
Mm-hmm.
And so I keep trying to find, I'll eventually find her. At some point, somebody's going to do some sort of a map that says every single person in the cemetery.
You should do it.
Yeah, that would take forever. In 1805, they decided to move some famous people out there because the cemetery, now we know it's in Paris proper, but then it was not. And so it was so far out of the way for people. Nobody wanted to go there. And because nobody wanted to go there, nobody was going to be buried there, because people are like, I don't want to go see, I don't want to go see Uncle Joe. So they decided to move some famous people out there. And the first ones they moved out there was Molière and Jean de La Fontaine, the famous playwright and fabulist that every French child has had to read and learn throughout school. And the two of them were moved out there, but most likely it is just they're not physically there. There's none of their, bones or anything there. It's just the actual tombs, and they are right next to each other. And the funny thing is that the two of them did not like each other, but now they have to be there together forever, even if it's in spirit.
I like that. They forced them to be together.
Yeah, but it was the other two were moved out there, was our girl Eloise and Abelard. And Josephine, the first wife of Napoleon, she ended up becoming enamored with their story, because, as we had talked about her before, Eloise, in the episode, we still need to talk about Josephine. But she, had all these letters that were published later, and they were pretty saucy. There were some things they were definitely into, a little bit of S&M, quite a few other things. And they had all of these love letters to each other, and they've been published over time, and you could still find them today. You could get them in English. You could find the books. And it became a big thing. It was in the 1800s, they were published. So Josephine basically really urged for them to be moved out there to Père Lachaise. And one of my favorites, Alexander Lenoir, who was the one who saved all the monuments during the Revolution. He's the one that designed and had their tomb built. It looks like a chapel, and the two of them are laying there together side by side in stone. And it's this really beautiful Gothic, square temple looking. And it's really, really cool. The last couple of times I've been out there, it's kind of held up with some braces and stuff, so it probably needs a little bit of work. But the two lovers are finally together forever.
That's so romantic.
Yeah, and once they were moved out there, that's when people were like, "Oh, okay, this is good. This is good. We'll do this." And now, of course, you have the Edith Piaf is out there, and Jim Morrison's out there, and Oscar Wilde. I mean, you basically all the big names are out there. been out there on 2 separate occasions when people have stopped me. Just a few weeks ago, they did again, asking me where Serge Gainsbourg is. So I don't know if there's something out there that says he's buried at Père Lachaise, but then both occasions, I've had to tell people, sadly, they have to go all the way to the other side of town.
Whoops.
Yeah. But another really amazing grave that's there is Chopin. He, in 1831, arrived to Paris. He was Polish. He was supposed to, he was having a hard time getting a French visa. So he was going and saying he was going to London. He was just passing through France, and then he never left. So I'm going to try that, option to see if that works. I think things are a little tighter now.
Yeah.
But he was good friends with my beloved Eugène Delacroix. He was also had a long relationship with George Sand, which is after him being an amazing composer. Most people know him because of his relationship with George Sand. And between 1830 and 1832, just in his 20s, early 20s, he wrote his famous Nocturne, which are just beautiful to listen. I just was listening to that in the Louvre, walking through all day because I was trying to drown out the people. I just put them on in my earbuds and turned it up as loud as I possibly could. But he died when he was 36 years old.
Wow.
His funeral, he planned out his whole funeral. He had it so that 2 women were supposed to be singing at his funeral, Pauline Viardot and Jean-Anne Castellan. And when, this came out, and it was supposed to be, it was Mozart, and he had the entire thing planned out. And it was at the Madeleine, and they were like, no, women are not allowed to perform on stage.
What?
And so his funeral got pushed off for 2 weeks while they tried to figure this out. They ended up letting them do it, but the women had to stand behind a black curtain.
Oh my God, how far we've come.
I know how far, that definitely we have come far. But Delacroix was one of his pallbearers, and he was buried there at Père Lachaise. His tomb is really beautiful. His body is there, but his heart is buried in Poland.
Isn't that nice?
Yeah. And that's, they did that a lot, especially with like the kings, they would have like their heart buried somewhere else, or Voltaire is like that. His heart's in one place, his brain's in another place, his body's in another place. You just see spreading it around, spread the love.
That's kind of Egyptian-ish, they took apart and put in little thingies, and they were all put
definitely. I could see like somebody with Voltaire, and that's just a weird story as it is. Like the guy that did the autopsy decided like, hey, I'm just going to take the brain out and hang on to it. And then his descendants, like his children, ended up going to the Comédie Française and offering this, like, hey, we have Voltaire's brain. And they were like, okay. And they said, give us a year of tickets and we'll give it to you. We'll trade you.
Did they do it?
And they did it. And so there's a statue, and it's up. I think if you go see a play or you go see something at the Comédie Française and it's like intermission, there's an upstairs really gorgeous, beautiful like bar. And there's a statue of him seated, and it's his brain is in that statue.
Whoa, gross.
It's just weird. It was just like, hey, what's that box in the cupboard? Oh, that's Voltaire's brain.
Casual.
Very, very strange. But also you could find Modigliani, who was a great artist that died when he was just 36 years old. Of tuberculosis in 1920. He died, and his girlfriend, Jeanne Heberton, is buried with him. She was pregnant when he died, and she was so upset about thinking about a life without him that she threw herself out her parents' window and died.
Oh, gosh. So sad.
It's very sad. Guillaume Apollinaire, you could also find him. He was the one that he was a critic and a poet, and he was friends with Picasso. He was injured in World War I. Shrapnel basically hit his helmet and blew a hole through his helmet and into his head. And I've seen the helmet on display at a exhibit at the Army Museum. But he died at 38 years old in 1918, and there's a tomb for him. But I think, you have Edith Piaf, and you have all of these incredibly famous people. You could even find a miniature statue of Winged Victory of Samothrace, which you know how much I love. Yeah. But there's also just like stunning tombs that are basically, dedicated to genocides and the commune. And just like, it's a very, it's an amazing place to go to. It's also a very heavy place to go to. Like, I guess some of those things I just start to get, it's just so sad, especially when you see the ones dedicated to, like, the people of World War II, that, the Jewish people that were killed in Auschwitz and things like that.
Yeah.
It's very,
Depressing.
it's just very somber. But I think it's always important to go and kind of pay your respects and
Yeah,
see
for
those.
sure.
But one of the ones I love is, you have a couple artists out there that it's really cool. You have Jericho, and the tomb of Jericho has a bas relief of the raft of the Medusa on
Right.
it. But what's really interesting about it is on the actual painting that he did, there's a gentleman that's dead. And his father is holding on to his body so he doesn't fall off the raft, and he's not wearing any pants. But on the bas relief that went into the cemetery, they put pants on him
That's funny.
because we don't want to offend people in the cemetery. And of course, it's a much smaller version than the actual painting. And then my guy Delacroix is there, and it's kind of a very plain tomb. It's like a dark, almost black lava rock color, and it just says Delacroix. It's really gorgeous. And then the artist Barry is really close to him. He's the one that also he did a lot of sculptures of animals, so you could find his lions and stuff outside the Louvre. And the two of them used to go to the Jardin des Plantes and sit and watch and sketch the animals all day, because they would both, Delacroix would paint them and Barry would sculpt them. And so I love it that the two of them are close together.
They're besties forever.
They're besties. But one of my favorites, and I just found this a couple weeks ago, Louis Visconti was an artist. He studied under Charles Percier, who was an architect under Napoleon that did a lot of work in the Louvre. Visconti later was asked to actually design the tomb of Napoleon. So when you go see the tomb of Napoleon, that was Louis Visconti. He also was asked under Napoleon III to do a bunch of things, like to finish the joining of the Palais des Tuileries to the Louvre. He also did quite a few different statues and fountains in the city. He did the statue of the four bishops in the front of Saint-Sulpice. He did the statue of Molière on Rue de Richelieu, and also the Fontaine Louvois that's on Rue de Richelieu. But he, under Napoleon III, did a lot of work on what they were calling the New Louvre. And on his tomb is a bas relief of the New Louvre.
That is cool.
And because I love the Louvre so much, it's one of my favorite things.
Of course.
I'm going to already just start, like, I'm going to need to have Wing Victory and a bas relief of the Louvre. And
yeah, seriously, you need it all on there.
They'll be like, what is going on with this person's tomb?
A guy with a lantern. And then everybody can kiss it and throw metro tickets at it.
There, yeah, exactly. But I was there a couple of weeks ago, and I did a live video from there. And you could easily get lost in there. I mean, it is massive. If you've not been to Père Lachaise, it is huge. And I was walking around and just cruising around. I kept joking around about being, stuck in Père Lachaise. Well, all of a sudden, towards the end of it, after about an hour, my feed cut out, which I'm not sure why, because I had full bars. And I just kept walking, and then I realized that I wasn't live anymore. And I kind of got down. I basically walked to the wall, the edge of it. And I thought, well, I have no idea where I am. I'll just follow the wall to get out. And I went to get out, and the gigantic main door was closed.
You got locked in the cemetery.
And I was like, okay, this is weird. It was light out. It was good that it was light out. And I had to walk around for 20 minutes before I found somebody in security that could let me out.
You're so lucky you found somebody.
And again, it was light out, or I probably would have been freaking out. But
I've been terrified.
I was like, there was no whistle. There was nothing that told you that you needed to go. And when I was walking around, there was a woman sitting on a bench, and I walked past her, and she was just sitting there on the bench. So I told the gentleman, I said there was another woman, and he was going to go try to find her. But I thought, what if I got stuck in there and I had to sleep in there all night long?
Oh my God, I would have been terrified.
Oh yeah, I would not have been.
Giuseppe, he'd come pull you up.
No, I would have tried to figure out how to scale the wall or do something, but it's still like, it's such a cool place to go. Definitely when you go, give yourself at least half a day. The terrain is very uneven, and you've got some parts of it with these gigantic cobblestones that'll like basically sneak out and grab your leg. And it's, it's really tiring to walk in those situations sometimes, because you basically have to be on high alert with every step you take so that you don't trip and fall.
Exactly.
But definitely give yourself like a half a day there. You could download maps for all of these museums or cemeteries / museums. You could download the maps online before you go. And if there's somebody that you're really dying to see, send me a message and I could let you know where, an idea of where you might be able to find them.
I love it. I'm just going to listen to this podcast and wander around and not get locked in the next time I get the chance.
Don't get locked in.
Thank you guys for tuning in, and don't forget to join Claudine on her virtual live tours of Paris every Sunday. You can find out more at claudinehemingway.com and join her as you learn about Paris live on video as she walks around Paris with you on camera. And tune in next week for another episode.
Thank you for listening to Paris History Avec a Hemingway. If you want to find out some more, you could always find me on my Instagram page, Claudine Bleu Blanc Rouge, and that's BLEU, as in the French way to spell it. And each day I post a daily history lesson about a person or a place or something in Paris, or it's lots of fun facts. And then also at ClaudineHemingway.com, where you can also sign up for my newsletter there.